Cyber threat collaboration involves, how many people have heard of the Connect the Centers initiative from the Comprehensive National Cyber Initiative? Well, these are essentially the centers that are to be connected virtually or physically. We have liaisons with most of these organizations. And we leverage each other's capability and insights to help each other in our respective missions. But we have the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, which is sponsored by the FBI, the Department of Defense Cyber Crime Center, DC3, the IC Incident Response Center, which is responsible for monitoring and protecting classified networks, many classified networks. Then we have the NSA, CSS, NTOC, that's NTOC, and then of course the newly formed, the newly reached Final Operating Capability, US Cyber Command. And of course, we can't do all of this without oversight. So we get significant oversight. There's some representatives here as well, thank you very much. National Security Council, OMB, GAO, Congress, and the Federal CIO Council. Sir.
You just mentioned Cyber Command, and I know it's been in the news about a relationship building between your organization and Cyber Command. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. How would you like that?
What is the relationship, and why is there sort of a cross-pollination of people, I guess?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little history. 2 years ago, before I went to the DNI on my detail, we had established an operational planning team, Joint Task Force Global Network Operations. And we were in the process of developing kind of a joint operating procedure where we would work closely together, share information, but it also included exchanging analysts and folks, exchanging prisoners. We got to the point where we exchanged liaisons. So we have now it's a cybercom, but a JTF-GNO liaison in US-CERT, and we have a couple of people that were part of JTF-GNO as well. So that relationship kind of grew, and I think the concepts behind that collaboration between US-CERT and JTF-GNO, which is a DoD Title 10 entity, grew into this bigger relationship and resulted in this recently signed MOA between DHS and DoD. And essentially what that MOA has done is laid the framework for expanding those relationships that we were developing with JTF-GNO a couple of years ago. So indeed there will be, quote-unquote, exchange of prisoners. There will be significant collaboration in the tool development arena, as well as in the shared situational awareness and information sharing. As we move into the next kind of era of analytics, we're part of their R&D. We'll be part of their R&D effort as well. So it's really an expansion and an extension of what we've been working on and physical, execution, I guess, of what we've been working on for some time.
Can you speak just a little bit to?
Can everybody hear the? I'll repeat the question. Go ahead.
Can you speak just a little bit to the changing approach from being less reactive and more proactive in terms of cybersecurity? Because I know a number of folks we spoke to so far kind of like, actually, I always feel like we're behind you, right? And you guys are always looking to try to kind of look 2-3 years down the road here. So you just kind of speak to how that's going to occur as you speak back to each of the federal agencies and other folks.
Sure. Yeah, I have a couple of slides to talk to that later. I'll just mention part of it right now, or partial answer to your question, and I hope to answer the rest of it as we move forward. Before you can be proactive, you have to understand your environment. And a lot of what we're doing right now, what we in US-CERT are doing, and what we're doing with the Comprehensive National Cyber Initiative, and what we're trying to do with these partnerships with DoD and others in the private sector, is to understand the environment. We understand portions of the environment. We understand many of the vulnerabilities. We understand some of the threats, but not all of them. It's a dynamic environment, so those vulnerabilities and threats are changing. And so by expanding our kind of network, we are looking to understand the environment better, but in a way that's agile enough so that we can adjust to changing vulnerabilities and threats. So most of our effort is toward that end. Are we proactive now? Well, we're more proactive in that we have a way forward. We have programs in place. We have resources applied against doing the things necessary to be proactive. Okay, and we can talk about this further. I got a couple of slides that may generate additional questions on that. Okay, U.S. critical infrastructure. Again, you can't read this. All this shows is just the departments that are responsible and what critical infrastructure sectors they're basically responsible for. The Office of Cybersecurity and Communications is responsible for the IT and the telecommunications sectors. That effort is primarily led within National Cybersecurity Division by Jenny Mena in our critical infrastructure and key resources section there at NCSD. So that's something we perform. The only thing that's not on here is the manufacturing sector. I'm not sure why. Okay, participation in national level planning. We put this together, I put this together just to kind of show where we, kind of what I do, or what I'm focused on, although it's not all-inclusive. Oops. It's not all-inclusive, but it's intended to show that what we're trying to do is align planning activities and then execution activities, meaning implementation activities, from national level plans all the way down to our organizational plans and standing operating procedures. Prior to us putting together a planning capability, we just built a lot of things, a lot of plans without making those alignments. So we build SOPs that would have nothing to do with supporting the National Response Framework, or the cyber incident annex to the National Response Framework. We would build SOPs that would have nothing to do with integrating with Department of Defense operational plans or Department of Defense activities. So this is really an effort to develop alignments and do planning so that it's relevant all the way through the hierarchy. Any questions about that?
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you have in your concept of support to the nation, the idea of US-CERT support to the state level? Or do you see yourself supporting through the DOD when maybe the Guard provides the Title 32 function?
I have a slide on that. It's our main effort in supporting state, local, and tribal is going to be through the multi-state ISAC. And I got a couple of points on that later on. And, I need to make clear about this DoD connection. There are different authorities that we operate under. Clearly, and cyber cyber has an important aspect in each of those areas where those authorities are executed. But we don't cross over authorities, and there's no plan to cross over authorities. But because we have those kind of authority borders, close collaboration and coordination is needed so that we can inform ourselves as to what's going on in those environments. I did have some three challenges here, and kind of alluded to them a little bit earlier with some questions that we face in the planning arena, is integrating cybersecurity into the physical security oriented or biased plans. So cybersecurity needs to be integrated in the national response plan. Cybersecurity needs to be integrated into the Homeland Defense plan. Needs to be integrated into everything.